Good morning. I'm Don Dickey, a member of the congregation. It's my privilege to welcome you here and to welcome those of you who are joining us by live feed. This morning, there's a protest going on across the street at the museum. To explain what's going on, and in the great tradition of protests that we know here at All Souls, we have representatives of the ACLU of Missouri and of Kansas.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Justice Gatson, and I do work for the ACLU of Missouri, but I'm not representing them today because I'm doing something a little bit different. I am repping Real Justice Network and one of the ACLU's coalitions, Dream Fighters Coalition. So I wanted to make that absolutely clear in case I get a phone call. I don't think that I will, though. But we wanted to come and speak to you today because I know that you all have a dynamic social justice team, that you've been doing some amazing work here, supporting local community. And I've been following what your national folks have been doing. You've been doing a lot of great work of supporting families at the border. Also, been really in touch with Blue, Black Lives of UU, who has supported, oh my gosh, so amazing work of Black and brown organizers across the country. So it's only fitting that we come here and encourage you and motivate you to support the immigration work that's happening right here in the city. There are lots of things happening, from escalations with ICE to now I feel like we're getting to the point where we really, really, really need allies. We really need allies to come, to speak up, to show up, and to be with us. So if any of you are inclined to join the coalition, please get in touch with us, Dream Fighters Coalition. But right now, Alice is going to talk to you about what's happening across the street.
Buenos dias, good morning. I'm Alex Martinez, and I'm the director of the Kansas-Missouri Dream Alliance, or KSMODA for short. I'll keep it really short. We are not protesting the Kemper employees or their artists. That's simple. We're protesting their board of trustees. The reason we're doing that, and if you have seen the news, they were a part of a detention center. They were profiting off of people being enslaved, off of people being detained, off of families getting separated. One of the cities where this detention center was in Rhode Island closed it down, and they're suing the city currently to reopen it so they can start getting more money off of our backs of immigrants. So I know that you have a social justice committee, and I've seen you around town, and I am asking you as an undocumented person to stand with us. If you have the time, please come stand on the street with us and tell the Kemper and their board of trustees it's not okay to separate families. Family detention should end. Children should not be in cages. Right? So I ask you to come with us, and I know there's a service about to start, but this will be here when you come back. So stand with us, and we appreciate you so much for all your support, for all the work that you do, and I hope you have a great service. Thank you so much.
Not everything in the service is always planned ahead. Some of these things crop up, and when there's opportunity knocks, you should open the door. One of the things we regularly do is set aside time to welcome guests and visitors. Do we have any members who have brought a guest with them today? Are there any people who are visiting who would feel comfortable standing? If so, let us know your name and where you're from. We do have, yes. Yes. Welcome. And we do have someone I happen to know who was raised in the church and is now an occasional visitor. Hey, will that tall boy back over there stand up? That's my son, Sean. Anyway, so thank you. It's going to be a good, this is our last 10:30 service. Next week, next week we return to the prior schedule. We are asking for input on people's reactions, likes, dislikes, so be sure and fill out the form, and should have an online survey available, so the link to that would be in your weekly email communication.
Good morning. My name is Kent McKusick. I'm the minister serving our fellowship in Ames, Iowa. Hi. And for those of you who I haven't met, the reason people are waving to me is because 10 years ago, I was the student minister here. And I was just recalling this morning that when I was ending up my internship, Jim Eller, the minister who was my supervisor, said, "There's only one thing that I'm unhappy about with your internship." And I thought, oh my. And he said, "I'm sorry you didn't start 10 years earlier." And I have to agree, because I'm thinking about retirement now, which is hard to believe. But it is so good to be here. Kendall was kind enough to come up and be a guest in our pulpit while I was on sabbatical in February. And so we exchanged pulpits, and it's good to be with you again. Our gathering words this morning are called, appropriately, Journey Home by Rabindranath Tagore. The time that my journey takes is long, and the way of it is long. I came out on the chariot of the first gleam of light and pursued my voyage through the wilderness of worlds, leaving my track on many a star and planet. It is the most distant course that comes nearest to thyself, and that training is the most intricate, which leads to the utter simplicity of a time. The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come to his own, and one has to wander through all the outer worlds to reach the innermost shrine at the end. My eyes strayed far and wide before I shut them and said, "Here art thou." The question and the cry, "Oh, where?" melt into tears of 1,000 streams and deluge the world with the flood of assurance. I am.
Morning. My name is Sierra, and I light this chalice for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
Please stand as you are able and join us in singing the song Gathered Here, and remain standing for our affirmation of the covenant. Together, we affirm, goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated. And now we will sing the children out to their classes.
Good morning. My name is Beth Andes, and I have no official link to Planned Parenthood, but I am a retired physician, and I do believe in health care as a right and not a privilege. So our special offering today will be received by Planned Parenthood, and for those of you that are not aware of this organization or unaware of the services that it provides, I want to just give you a few facts. But first, I want to let you know that funding for Planned Parenthood, 80% of it comes from Medicaid dollars. That means that people who have Medicaid for their medical insurance use Planned Parenthood services, and those are paid for by Medicaid. But there are other funds, and recently the federal government has chosen to impose something called a gag order. A gag order means that these providers, healthcare providers at Planned Parenthood, are not allowed to mention abortion, okay? And if they do mention abortion, they could lose their funding. So Planned Parenthood actually, as an organization, has decided not to receive these federal funds in the future because they do not wish to comply with this gag order. Nearly 1/3 of the women in need of publicly funded birth control live in counties where Planned Parenthood is the primary safety net provider. 6 in 10 women who use family planning services or cancer screening services at Planned Parenthood consider Planned Parenthood as their primary health care provider. In 68% of counties that have a Planned Parenthood health clinic, Planned Parenthood serves at least half of all the safety net family planning patients. And in 21% of counties where Planned Parenthood is present for women's health care services, they are the only women's health care services available in the county. There are no other services available to these women. So I stand with Planned Parenthood. Let me remind you of the mechanics of donating. If you would like to put on the donation line of your check a special offering, that would be great. And that and the half of the cash that's donated will go to our special offering. Thank you once again. The offering will now be gratefully given and hopefully gratefully received.
Please join me in the dedication of our offering to the works that it supports, which support our values. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society.
Every day, I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight. That leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean shine, the prayers that are made out of grass.
If we only look around. This congregation that I knew 10 years ago, that I still know, is so engaged in the hard work that's making a difference. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it makes a difference. I know sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in these challenging and fearful times that we live in, with the injustice and human despair. And I think it's kind of perfect that this demonstration is happening across the street today. It fits in so nicely with this congregation not saying, oh God, there's one more thing. Because every day when I look at the news, I go, oh God, there's one more thing. And it's so easy to get caught up and stuck there. And we have to remember, if we only look around. Because why do we do this work? We do this work because of the people who are out there suffering, and we do it also for the people in this room, those who we know are suffering and those who we do not know are suffering. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we wouldn't be able to sustain that work. If we don't pause at least for a moment every day and look at the beauty in the world, in the beauty of the people that are in this room, that are in your community, we're reminded why we do the work. And we have the sustainability to do it. These videos were both created in support of the issues of gun control, the horrors to end the horrors of immigration at the borders. And they're an artistic reminder of why we do the work, even though they may bring a tear to our eyes. But I would add another layer of intertextuality from the musical Hamilton. You may remember the line, look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. That is from a place of privilege, of course. There are many people who do not feel that way. But I do experience that when I look back at the context of those times and how challenging they were. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now, to make a difference, to move forward in the world. So back in February, after 9 years of ministry, having left Kansas City, I found myself stuck in that place of negativity. That's why they create sabbaticals. So what I want to talk to you today about is what I learned about myself on sabbatical, which is a 4.5 month time to look at the world for me. but invite you to think, how could you take a mini sabbatical for a half an hour every day? Because no matter what they tell you, you're not alone. If you only look around, you'll be found. So I'm going to tell you today the story of a walk that I took that impacted the rest of my sabbatical and possibly the rest of my life. And like all stories, this story has a context. It was the 6th week of my sabbatical, and I had already checked a few items off my bucket list. And on bucket lists, if you'll forgive me for going off text, how many of you have bucket lists? Okay, I want to share this with you. Don't wait. What are you waiting for? Do it now. Live. Bucket, maybe call it a fun list, or, well, anyway, you get my point. But on my bucket list was a solo, I didn't plan it to be solo, but it ended up being a solo civil rights pilgrimage in Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Mississippi. The experience was spiritually rich and provided deep and painful learning that opened my heart and mind to parts of the civil rights movements in the 60s that I didn't experience or learn in the white culture of Maine. It was painful and horribly disturbing to recognize how the culture of those years is fiercely embodied and present in our country today. The pilgrimage also offered deeply moving stories of courage, hope, and endurance. I also attended the Humana Festival for New American Plays in Louisville. All of the plays at the theater festival engaged justice-related themes related to race in America, equality for women, cultural tensions in an Islamic family, cult mentality, and the spiritual veil between life and death. In the beginning weeks of sabbatical, as you can tell, I had not created a schedule that reasonably supported the concept and goal of rest and rejuvenation. Even so, it was a powerfully rich time of getting where I had never been before, experiencing cultural differences in America and reflecting on those new and different perspectives, and most importantly, my reactions to them. Traveling alone, especially in the South, I experienced a heightened awareness of my privilege as a white male with full-time employment. As a person who has training on not carrying the emotional and spiritual burdens of ministry, I was surprised to find myself crying almost every day. I reflected on my white fragility in a culture of white supremacy. I cried tears of loss, remembering loved ones who are no longer alive. I cried tears of joy and wonder in the face of beauty that transported me to a new understanding of the gifts of this earth. Witnessing the humanity and the deep emotion of visual and theater artists gave rise to my tears of joy, spiritual connection, and inspiration. You get the picture. I cried a lot, and sometimes it made sense to me. Tagore reminds us, "The time that my journey takes is long, and the way of it is long. The traveler has to knock at every alien door to come to his own, and one has to wander through all the outer worlds to reach the innermost shrine at the end." This is the context of my arrival in Santa Barbara, California, with my husband James on April 3rd. He was chosen to present an academic paper at Art and Psyche, the Illuminated Imagination, a Jungian conference held at the University of California. It was a beautiful day when we arrived. The Santa Ynez Mountains and the Pacific coastlines are breathtaking. And unlike a previous visit during the drought years, California was green and lush, an awe-inspiring shift from brown and the burning hillsides of last year. James arrived to work, and I had 2 assignments for the week. He was presenting for the first time at a national conference, and if I can be silly and steal from Hamilton again, I wanted to be in the room when it happened. And initially it appeared that the only way I could do that was to pay $450 for the entire week conference to attend his 45-minute session. Before I could even muster up a decent level of dismay, he discovered that registration was closed. I could feel tension gathering from deep within myself and tried to ward it off at the pass. Imagine deep breathing with profanity. He made a phone call. Mission accomplished. He could have someone in the room only if that person was serving as a support person. New job title. Presenter assistant. It was a rough gig. Okay, ready? The burden of this. I had to carry his laptop into the room, set it up, turn it on, bring up the PowerPoint, and make sure that the media person had it properly connected. That was the extent of my job. He was amazing, by the way. Several people said that it was the most thought-provoking presentation at the conference. But that was my first work assignment. My second was to chauffeur him to the university and back each morning by 9 and pick him up at 9 o'clock each evening. That chunk of time in between was free to do whatever I chose to do, if anything. I did not know that the first day would reawaken the innate and embodied teachers of my life. On the first drive from the hotel to the university, I saw a single row of palm trees on the coastline with the ocean on one side and the mountains on the other. I was drawn there. And as I got closer, I was excited to discover Goleta Beach, a beautiful park with what looks like an endless pier going out into the water. For someone who had just left the Iowa winter, the warm sun, even with the cold ocean wind, was inviting. It was peaceful and uncrowded. Walking on soft sand is difficult for me. The firm, wet sand is where I find stable footing and the benefit of total immersion into the sound and smell of the ocean waves, and occasionally having an unexpected wave wet my feet. Scampering is not as strong a skill as it used to be. With intention, I paused every now and then to focus and take on an inventory of each of my senses as I walked along the pier or toward the pier. I noticed tiny single flowers on the edge of the water. I give thanks for my senses, heavenly teachers in each moment, if I remember to pause and pay attention. The pier was longer than I first thought, and the wide and weather-worn planks were rougher and more uneven than they looked from a distance. The pigeons didn't have any trouble navigating the roughness. I found myself impatient and frustrated as I repeatedly lost my balance and tripped several times on the uneven and rough surface. They had no trouble going to areas deemed inaccessible. I found myself envious of this bird, sitting by the bench that I wanted to use, seemingly mocking me by enjoying the view that called me to sit and linger. I laughed out loud when I realized my preposterous thinking. A gull guided me to a more welcoming place on the rail where the view was lovely, and I stayed there reflecting on my silliness and the beauty. The wind was picking up, and I lost my balance more often, frustrated by the unevenness of my footing. Stopping to reflect, the pier became my teacher. I remembered the patience of my youth as I learned how to walk after polio, learned to ski, and the challenges and joys that accompanied mobility issues and discovering how to navigate the world. As I looked at the wood, a simple and significant mantra appeared. Choose your steps carefully. Don't rush. Look for the next step. Stop to enjoy the view in every direction. Repeat when you're ready. The gulls laughed and flew away, checking back every now and then just in case I had food. I give thanks for patience, a heavenly teacher when I remember to breathe slowly. I reached the end of the pier, a gathering point for fishing and viewing. And with permission, I photographed these young men, students at the university, who didn't care what they were fishing for or if they caught anything at all. They were just enjoying the spring day and the joys of friendship. Walking from the end of the pier back to shore, I continued stopping often to recall and practice the mantra. Choose your steps carefully. Don't rush. Look for the next step. Stop to enjoy the view in every direction. Repeat when you're ready. I reflected on how this mantra could have an impact on every part of my life, including ministry, including any challenge, and maybe yours too. But the walk wasn't done. After a coffee break, I read about the Carpinteria Bluffs and decided to extend my walk. After going through a field of yellow flowers, a dirt road parallels the coast along eucalyptus trees, wise sentinels that mark the boundaries of meadow and bluff. An occasional gecko blends into the sand and dashes off after posing. I love the smell of these trees and the beauty of their aging bark. They invite us to live. A field of yellow flowers called me towards the bluff. The anticipation of ocean views was exciting, and I momentarily forgot my mantra and walked while I was looking. But a stumble brought me back to my senses. I met a man at a fork in the trail who encouraged me to take a path to the base of the bluffs. It was steep, rocky, and precarious. I wanted to go, and I did, remembering my mantra. Steps, don't rush. Look around in every direction. Repeat. I really focused on my steps. Choosing to continue, as long as I followed the plan, it was worth every slow, intentional step and stop. I give thanks for persistence, a heavenly teacher when I remember to take care of myself. I don't know how long this took. Having returned to the top of the bluff, I was tired and ready to return when I met two people who I had encountered earlier on the path. They excitedly asked me if I had seen the baby seals in the rookery. It was a short and easy trail to witness the miracle of ocean life in a protected area, the Carpinteria Bluffs. I returned having discovered a renewed sense of balance in my life and in my relationship to the universe. Every day, I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy. Look around. Look around at how lucky it is to be alive right now. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit as we sing together, all creatures of the earth and sky. Are by Richard Gilbert. As we leave this community of spirit, may we remember the difficult lesson that each day offers more than we can do. May we do what needs to be done, postpone what does not, and be at peace with what we can be and do. Therefore, may we learn to separate that which matters most and that which matters least of all.